The NBA is terrified of this. With already two All-Star starters on the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, Towns has revealed the New York Knicks' master plan with his recruiting to bring in an NBA superstar in his prime to the New York Knicks, who have already set the team up perfectly for this to happen, and we're going to break all of this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as usual. And if you guys are enjoying the content and are part of that 68% who's not subscribed and you want daily New York Knicks news, rumor reports, updates, a bunch of fun videos is the place to be for all Knicks content, plus the most fun live streams on YouTube. But let's jump into this. You guys saw the thumbnail. You know who we're talking about. Karl-Anthony Towns is revealing the New York Knicks master plan in recruiting Anthony Edwards to join the New York Knicks. And I know this sounds a little bit ridiculous. It's not lost on me that there's going to be a lot of doubters with this, but we're going to explain why the New York Knicks have set themselves up perfectly to sign Anthony Edwards once he hits free agency and re-team him up with Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson and continue the New York Knicks title hopes well past 2029 when all their contracts end. So we're going to jump right into things. As we know, Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are very close friends. And recently, Anthony Edwards beat Karl-Anthony Towns' record for most 40-point games as a Minnesota Timberwolf. Edwards spoke on this, saying, yeah, because me and Kat tied yesterday, because Kat just texted me too. Shout out to Kat, man. He texts me after every game. I text him after every game. Yeah, Kat, you second, my boy. These two are very, very close friends. It is something that is not a very hidden secret by the two of them. Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards spent a good amount of time together on the Minnesota Timberwolves as two first overall picks who helped the Timberwolves have their best season ever as they made the conference finals and ended up getting disparaged by Luka Doncic. And now if you look at things, had the Timberwolves kept him around, considering Luka Doncic isn't on the Dallas Mavericks anymore, well, first of all, didn't think I'd ever say that, but with Towns and Edwards still there, the Timberwolves likely would have been the favorites to go to and potentially win the NBA Finals this season. However, things sort of went terribly as the Timberwolves tried to cut money by trading Towns, which has backfired horrifically for the Timberwolves. And now Towns, who's hanging out with an Anthony Edwards who has to be frustrated by the step back that they made, is doing his due diligence to bring Anthony Edwards to the New York Knicks. Now, this is a long-term plan. The Knicks don't have the money. They don't have the draft picks to pull this off. So this is going to have to be a move down the line in free agency. But Towns was recently asked who will be the face of the NBA in 5 years, and Towns said, I'm all about loyalty, so Anthony Edwards gets my vote all the time. There's something interesting about this. In 5 years, who's going to be the face of the NBA? Well, Anthony Edwards is certainly going to be up there as he's a young player who's still getting better, and the man's such a flashy guy. It's hard to not love watching Edwards, who just plays with an absolute box office style. It's so easy to enjoy watching an Anthony Edwards game. And, well, how does Anthony Edwards become the face of the NBA? Which, in all fairness, he said he doesn't want. But how does he do that the best? And how does the NBA absolutely salivate? You put Anthony Edwards on the New York Knicks. Now, let's take a look at something real quick. 5 years from now, Anthony Edwards. 5 years from now, he's a free agent. Just saying. Anthony Edwards is a free agent 5 years from now. When Karl-Anthony Towns was asked who will be the face of the NBA in 5 years. So that makes things a little interesting. Obviously a fun coincidence more than anything else, but also Towns propping up his guy. On top of everything, Anthony Edwards, according to Towns, was having all the fun and that he's just trying to join the party after Towns' back-to-back 40-point games right before the All-Star break. These two cannot stop talking about each other and talking to each other, as we saw during the NBA's All-Star game that Edwards didn't end up playing in, but obviously, he was voted to the team, and Towns and Edwards were shoulder to shoulder so often hanging out. They're good friends. They don't live in the same city anymore. They don't play for the same team. They don't get to see each other as much. So they're hanging out. And you know Karl-Anthony Towns is pushing the agenda like, hey, man, it's a different breed of basketball over here. A couple of years down, when you're a free agent, you should come by, just like I did. Spend your first 9 years at the Timberwolves. Head to New York. I'll still be there. I'll be in my 30s. You come join me. Be the face of the team. I'll help you win. Jalen Brunson will still be there. Mikal Bridges could likely be there as well. Josh Hart, the spirit of Josh Hart might be there. He'll be in his later 30s, 35, and Josh Hart doesn't want to play too much longer into his 30s. He said Josh doesn't want to be a 40-year-old in the NBA, so he's he could be retired by then, or just really hanging out on the bench, being an extension of the coaching staff, or just literally being part of the coaching staff. But it's also important to note that when looking at Karl-Anthony Towns' contract, that ends in the 27-28 season. He's got a player option that he's obviously going to accept because it's so much money that he's not going to get paid the following year, as he'll be in his later 30s, and his contract, well, maybe financially it'll be similar because the CBA will continue to rise and the salary cap will continue to rise, but he won't get that massive contract that he once got in comparison to, like, having one of the biggest contracts in basketball. But the Knicks will want to pay him. They'll want to keep Towns around. Leon Rose likes Karl-Anthony Towns. And also, we're acting like Towns is going to be 38 when this happens. He's going to be 33. The man's still going to be one of the best shooters on the planet. He's still going to be an elite scorer when he's 33 years old. It's not like he's going to be washed up. So it's going to be fine. They're still going to have a very great version of Karl-Anthony Towns. But they could also bring Anthony Edwards in on that. Because what's the thing here? Anthony Edwards, a free agent, 29, 30 seasons. The first season that he's not going to be due for a contract. He'll be a free agent in 2029. But look at that. Who are the two guys who will be on the Knicks in 2029 according to contracts? Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. The Knicks will try to move that OG Anunoby contract and can attach draft picks to it because, yes, the Knicks don't have draft picks right now, meaning they can't trade for Anthony Edwards. But in a couple of years down the line, the Knicks will have draft picks, and with the salary cap increasing, that OG Anunoby trade becomes, or that OG Anunoby contract becomes way more tradable. He'll be in his mid-30s by then, early mid-30s by then, OG, and the Knicks will look to move that contract off to free some more money. They'll probably still have Mikal Bridges around, that I'd expect, but also we thought Dante DiVincenzo would be around for a while, and look how that worked out. Outside of that, we'll probably see a bit of a different Knicks team. Josh Hart could be around on a lot cheaper of a deal. Karl-Anthony Towns will end up getting re-signed or will be a free agent the same year that Edwards is, so the Knicks can bring back Karl-Anthony Towns, then also bring Edwards into the party as well, while Jalen Brunson is still locked up. He'll decline that he'll decline that player option, meaning the Knicks will really have no one on their contract books, unless probably Mikal, because they'll re-sign him. But outside of that, they won't have too many people. Mikal, probably a smaller deal for Pacome Dadier, potentially one for Tyler Kolek as well, and Ariel Huckporty and Kevin McCullough Jr., the Knicks rookies. But outside of that, we could be seeing the New York Knicks have a completely free cap sheet where the salary's increased, and they could go get Jalen Brunson on another contract extension, extend Karl-Anthony Towns, and then bring in Anthony Edwards and have the most dominant offensive big three that basketball will have seen in a very, very long time, creating a box office big three that's going to absolutely light MSG up, with Anthony Edwards in the prime of his career at around 28, 29 years old, being the lead force, while Jalen Brunson's still there, being the captain, being the face of the team, while Karl-Anthony Towns is still doing his thing. Yeah, they'll have to figure out the defense, but first of all, Anthony Edwards is a phenomenal defender, and outside of that, the Knicks could likely still have Mikal Bridges, and they'll find other defense in the process. The Knicks have been very good at finding defensive stars. I don't think they're going to struggle to do that. So everything sort of works out perfectly right here, and obviously it's likely that this could happen, because Karl-Anthony Towns, we know he's great, and we know Edwards likes to play with them. I mean, Towns gives insane spacing, shooting 44% from three, along with putting up 25 points this season and 13 rebounds and 3 assists. These numbers could likely shift a little bit by the time he's in his 30s, but he'll still be putting up 20 and 10 with over 40% from three for sure. Still doing his thing. On top of that, Anthony Edwards hasn't even hit his prime yet. He's 23 years old. In 5 years from now, he'll be 28, 29 come free agency, and he'll probably be putting up somewhere around the 27.5 points per game with 6 rebounds and 4.5 assists he's putting up, plus over a steal per game. Good defense as well, 41% from three, 44% from the field. Edwards is phenomenal, and he's only getting better still. So this just would work out perfectly for the New York Knicks to pull this off. And on top of that, when you just look at the way these guys talk about each other, you could tell they still do want to play together. I mean, Sports Illustrated mentioned that following a game between the New York Knicks and Minnesota Timberwolves in the preseason, Timberwolves social media channels caught Towns and Minnesota franchise face Anthony Edwards exchanging jerseys and sneakers. The audio caught an observing fan calling for Edwards to consider New York, New York, once his current contract is up in 2029, when the Knicks have their books completely freed up, coincidentally. And is Edwards... He offered an intriguing response. And what did Anthony Edwards say about him and Karl-Anthony Towns? I would love to be reunited. You tell me. This seems like a perfect storm. I know this is a long time away, but it's the All-Star break. It's time for some speculation, especially after seeing these guys broing down as usual. You know Towns wants it. You know Anthony Edwards. I mean, that man in New York City, just in MSG, being the face of the New York Knicks, being the guy, being the number one option on the New York Knicks. Think about that endorsement money that man would make. Think about how much the NBA will try to push that on everyone, considering the NBA, whoever the commissioner is in 2029, whether it's Adam Silver or someone else who's probably corrupt, you know they're going to want the Knicks to have Anthony Edwards so they could put an insanely marketable face. I mean, look, Jalen Brunson's great. Karl-Anthony Towns is great. They're not as marketable as Anthony Edwards, who's just, his personality shines through so hard. Like, he never puts up a wall or anything, and Brunson does a pretty good job at that as well. But Brunson's more of a laid-back, kind of fun, sarcastic, funny guy, where Anthony Edwards will just say whatever. He's got no problem just going in there and basically having a very limited filter, which is something that a lot of fans are enjoying. And when you're playing as fun as Edwards and getting on the mic and being as fun as Edwards, well, it's a perfect storm for a franchise, for an NBA face, with Victor Wembanyama and someone like that as the two guys who are two big up-and-comers. And, I mean, it just feels like a perfect storm. I truly believe the Knicks are well aware of Anthony Edwards' contract situation, and it probably was a bit of a thought when they traded for Towns is, well, in 2029, we'll have free books, so we might be able to just swoop up Anthony Edwards, bring back Towns, bring back JB, get an elite defense with him, and then, well, then we're still a finals contender way past 2029. It's what the Warriors would do. They wouldn't rebuild. They would reload. And that's what Leon Rose and the New York Knicks intend to do. And Brock Aller is using salary cap wizardry to set the Knicks up for 2029 free agency when the Knicks can sign Anthony Edwards. Let me know what you guys think. Am I being a little insane here? Be honest. Am I being kind of crazy? Or is Leon Rose having this master plan sort of get revealed right now? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.